The research vessel Starseeker drifted peacefully in Jupiter's orbit, its crew of 15 going about their regular duties. Captain James Miller stood at the observation deck, his experienced eyes fixed on the gas giant's swirling storms. After 20 years in space, he thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. "Captain, unknown object approaching from Sector 7. The radar operator's voice crackled through the ship's comm system. Miller turned sharply, his gray hair catching the light from Jupiter's reflection. "Show me," he ordered, hurrying to the bridge. The main screen displayed a massive vessel, unlike anything human engineers had ever designed. Its surface gleamed with a metallic purple sheen, and its shape reminded Miller of a predatory shark. "Sir, they're broadcasting something," reported Anna, the communications officer. Her hands flew across the control panel as she worked to decode the signal. It's translating into English." A harsh voice filled the bridge. "Attention, inferior vessel. This is Commander Supreme of the Dominion Forces. Your species has been deemed suitable for incorporation into our empire. Surrender immediately and prepare for colonization." Miller's jaw tightened. "Open a channel," he commanded. "This is Captain James Miller of the Earth research vessel Starseeker. We are a peaceful expedition. Our planet is sovereign, and we do not recognize your authority to demand our surrender." The response came instantly, dripping with contempt. "Your recognition is not required. Primitive. Your species will serve the Dominion, whether willingly or not." "We've detected weapons powering up," shouted Mark from Tactical. "Their energy readings are off the charts." Miller's mind raced. The Starseeker was a research vessel. Its only defenses were basic shields meant for asteroid protection. "Broadcast an emergency signal to Earth," he ordered. "All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers." The alien ship's first shot came without warning. A beam of purple energy sliced through space, cutting through the Starseeker's shields like they were paper. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems began failing. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 5. Someone shouted. Miller grabbed his console as the ship shuddered violently. "Get to the escape pods," he commanded. "This is not a drill." All hands abandoned ship. The crew scrambled to follow orders, but the Dominion ship wasn't finished. Another blast tore through the Starseeker's engine section, sending the ship into an uncontrolled spin. In the chaos, 3 crew members, Miller, Anna, and Mark, managed to reach the last functional escape pod. As they launched away from their dying ship, they watched in horror as the Starseeker exploded, taking the rest of their crew with it. "Those monsters," Anna whispered, tears floating in the pod's zero gravity. "They didn't even give us a chance." Miller's face was grim as their tiny pod drifted in Jupiter's shadow. "Send that emergency signal on all frequencies," he ordered. "Earth needs to know what happened here." Mark worked the pod's limited communication system. Message sent, but he hesitated, checking the long-range scanners. "Sir, I'm picking up multiple signals, similar to that ship, but smaller. They're scattered throughout the solar system." "Scouts," Miller realized, his blood running cold. "They've been watching us, planning this." The 3 survivors huddled in their pod, watching as the massive alien ship turned and disappeared into the darkness of space. Their only hope now was that Earth would receive their warning in time. As they waited for rescue, Miller made a silent vow. This wouldn't be humanity's last stand. It would be their call to arms. The aliens thought humans would be easy prey, but they had just made the biggest mistake in their empire's history. They had underestimated humanity's will to survive. The emergency broadcast from Jupiter reached Earth 12 hours after the Starseeker's destruction. In the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, Admiral Kate Thompson stood before the world's leaders, her face illuminated by the holographic display showing the last images from the destroyed research vessel. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "What you're seeing is not a hoax. 6 hours ago, we recovered the escape pod containing our 3 survivors. Their testimony matches our deep space readings. The room erupted in nervous whispers. On the main screen, the purple alien ship's attack played in a loop, showing the brutal destruction of humanity's most advanced research vessel. "There's more," Thompson continued, pressing a button on her remote. The display changed to show a map of the solar system, dotted with red markers. These signals were detected by our deep space arrays over the past month. We thought they were equipment malfunctions. We were wrong. They're alien scout ships, watching us. The president of the Global Defense Council leaned forward. "How many?" 27 confirmed locations, sir. And that's not the worst part." Thompson's expression darkened. Captain Miller's pod recovered data from the Starseeker's final scan. These aliens, the Dominion, have conquered 17 other species. Earth isn't their first target. We're just the latest. Silence fell over the chamber. The weight of this revelation pressed down on everyone present. "What are our options?" asked the Chinese representative, breaking the tense quiet. Thompson straightened her uniform. "We've been preparing for something like this. Remember the crashed alien ship in the Arctic 3 years ago, and the one in the Sahara last year? Our scientists have been reverse engineering that technology. We're not defenseless." She pulled up another display, showing underground facilities across the globe. Project Guardian was established after the first crash. "We've developed shields, weapons, and propulsion systems based on alien tech. They're not as advanced as the Dominions, but they work. And now we know we need them. How long do we have?" The Indian Prime Minister's question hung in the air. Before Thompson could answer, alarms blared throughout the building. A junior officer burst into the chamber, his face pale. "Multiple objects entering the solar system. They're bigger than anything we've ever seen." Thompson's training took over. "Initiate Emergency Defense Protocol Alpha. All military personnel to battle stations. Civilian populations to designated shelters." She turned to the world leaders. "We don't have time for debate. We need to act now." The council voted unanimously in record time. Within hours, the Emergency Defense Protocol was in full effect. Cities across the world transformed as hidden defense systems emerged from underground bunkers. Military bases revealed secret hangars containing experimental aircraft built with recovered alien technology. In her command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, Thompson watched as humanity prepared for war. Engineers worked frantically to mass-produce weapons based on the recovered alien technology. Soldiers trained on new equipment that would have seemed impossible just years ago. "Admiral," an aide called out. Captain Miller's team finished analyzing the Dominion's attack patterns. "You need to see this." The data showed something surprising. Despite their advanced technology, the Dominion's tactics were rigid, predictable. They relied on overwhelming force and expected immediate surrender. "They don't adapt," Miller explained from the video feed, still recovering in the medical bay. "They've conquered so many worlds, they think they know exactly how this will play out. But humans are different. We change, we adapt, we improvise." Thompson nodded slowly, a plan forming in her mind. "Then that's their weakness. They expect us to fight like everyone else they've conquered. But we won't." As she looked at the global defense grid coming online, Thompson allowed herself a grim smile. The Dominion thought they were dealing with just another primitive species to add to their collection. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Humanity had been preparing for this moment without even knowing it, and they weren't going down without a fight. The invasion began at dawn. Purple lights filled the sky as hundreds of Dominion warships broke through Earth's atmosphere. Their massive ships cast dark shadows over cities worldwide, like artificial clouds blocking out the sun. In New York, people stared up at the massive vessels, their phones recording humanity's first global contact with alien life. The initial attack came without warning. Purple energy beams sliced through skyscrapers like hot knives through butter. "All defense units, engage." Admiral Thompson's voice echoed through military channels worldwide. Earth's hidden defenses sprang to life. Gun turrets emerged from building tops, experimental fighters launched from underground hangars, and shield generators hummed to life around major population centers. The first battle for London showed exactly what humanity was facing. Dominion forces expected an easy victory, but they didn't know about Commander Jack West's guerrilla tactics. They're looking up, expecting traditional air defense. West told his troops, hidden in the underground tunnels, so we'll hit them from below. His teams had rigged the city's subway system with makeshift explosives, made from a mix of human ingenuity and reversed-engineered alien tech. When the Dominion ground forces marched through London streets, West's troops struck. Explosions rocked the city from underground, swallowing entire alien squadrons. Human fighters emerged from hidden bunkers, using the chaos to their advantage. The aliens, used to straightforward battles, didn't know how to respond to these tactics. Their commanders had never faced an enemy that would sacrifice their own infrastructure for tactical advantage. In Tokyo, the resistance took a different approach. They used the city's complex network of alleys and tunnels to wage a shadow war. Local defenders, led by Captain Mary Rogers, turned office buildings into fortresses and shopping districts into kill zones. "They expect us to fight fair," Rogers told her squad as they set up another ambush. That's their mistake. Her teams used simple tools: mirror networks to blind alien sensors, water pipes to short out their energy weapons, and old-fashioned steel cables to trip their walking machines. The Dominion forces, despite their superior technology, found themselves frustrated at every turn. Their energy shields could stop missiles, but did nothing against simple pit traps. Their advanced targeting systems were useless when humans fought from sewers and subway tunnels. In Rio de Janeiro, civilian resistance groups proved equally resourceful. People used whatever they could find: construction equipment, buses, even sports stadium lighting systems, as weapons. The aliens had no protocol for dealing with humans who turned everyday objects into tools of war. Status report: Admiral Thompson demanded from her command center, now relocated to a mobile underground base. Dominion forces have taken heavy losses in every major city, her aide reported. But they're still coming. They're throwing more ships into the fight. But he paused, checking his data. Their tactics aren't changing. They're just trying the same things with more forces. Thompson smiled grimly. This confirmed what they'd learned from studying the Dominion's previous conquests. They had overwhelming force but lacked tactical flexibility. They expected every species to fight the same way, with conventional armies and standard tactics. But humans were different. Each city, each region developed its own way of fighting back. The Dominion's Central Command couldn't adapt fast enough to counter these diverse strategies. By sunset of the first day, the aliens held portions of major cities, but their victories had cost them dearly. Their losses were unprecedented in their history of conquest. What should have been a simple subjugation had turned into a grinding battle of attrition. In their command ships, Dominion leaders struggled to understand what was happening. Their reports showed humans using primitive weapons alongside advanced technology, fighting from shadows and underground, turning their own cities into weapons. As night fell, Admiral Thompson received reports from around the world. Despite heavy casualties and widespread destruction, humanity had survived the first day. More importantly, they had shown the Dominion something they had never seen before: a species that refused to follow the rules of war. The invasion had begun, but it wasn't going according to the Dominion's plans. Humanity was writing its own playbook, and the aliens were about to learn just how creative humans could be when fighting for survival. A team of scientists worked frantically in a hidden laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. Dr. Robert White held up a captured Dominion weapon, studying its purple glow under specialized scanners. 3 weeks of non-stop research had led to this moment. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the scanner display. "Their shields aren't actually solid energy. They pulse, 40,000 times per second. There are gaps between each pulse." His colleague, Dr. Lisa Cooper, leaned forward. "So if we time it right, We can slip right through their defenses, Robert finished. Their whole technology is based on this pulsing pattern. Ships, weapons, everything. Within hours, Admiral Thompson received their report. She immediately called Commander Tom Wilson, Earth's most decorated pilot, to her command center. "We have a chance," she explained, showing him the scientist's discovery. "But it'll require perfect timing. And," she paused, "someone crazy enough to try it." Wilson grinned. "Crazy is what we do best, Admiral." He studied the data. "Give me 24 hours and a small team. I think I know how we can test this." The next day, Wilson led a squad of 6 experimental fighters toward a Dominion command ship hovering over the ruins of Moscow. Each fighter carried a modified weapon designed by Dr. White's team. "Remember," Wilson's voice crackled over the radio, "we fire exactly when the computer tells us, not a millisecond sooner or later." The Dominion ship spotted them immediately. Purple energy beams sliced through the sky, but Wilson's team had trained for this. They weaved through the attack pattern, closing the distance. 3 seconds to firing position, Wilson announced. 2, 1, now. 6 human fighters fired simultaneously. Their modified weapons released bursts of energy precisely timed to slip through the gaps in the Dominion's shields. The massive alien ship's defenses meant nothing. Direct hits caused explosions across the command ship's hull. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had breached their seemingly impenetrable defenses. "It works," Wilson shouted. "All units, confirm targeting data. Hit them again." The Dominion commanders couldn't understand what was happening. Their shields were failing against weapons that should have been too primitive to hurt them. They didn't realize that humans had done the impossible. They had cracked the basic principle behind all Dominion technology in just 3 weeks. News of the successful attack spread quickly. In hidden factories around the world, engineers worked around the clock to modify Earth's weapons with the new technology. Regular soldiers were trained to use the modified weapons, timing their shots to the precise millisecond needed. The Dominion responded by increasing their shield power, but this only made the gaps between pulses more predictable. Every adjustment they made followed their standard protocols that humans now understood. A week later, Wilson led a larger attack on the Dominion's main fleet over North America. This time, he commanded 100 fighters, each equipped with the new weapons. The battle that followed would be remembered as humanity's first major victory. "Target their engine sections," Wilson ordered as his fleet engaged. "Time your shots and fire." The sky lit up with explosions as human weapons slipped through alien shields. 3 Dominion capital ships fell from the sky, crashing into the empty desert below. The aliens had never lost so many ships in a single battle. In her command center, Admiral Thompson watched the battle unfold. "Send word to all resistance groups," she ordered. "We've found their weakness. Now we exploit it." The Dominion commanders faced a situation they had never encountered in thousands of years of conquest. Their technology, previously unbeatable, had been understood and countered in less than a month. Worse, the humans were improving on it, finding new ways to bypass their defenses. As Wilson's fleet continued their attack, he sent a simple message to all Earth forces. "They're not invincible anymore. Today we prove that humanity won't just survive. We'll win." The tide of war had turned. The Dominion's greatest strength, their advanced technology, had become their weakness. They had never faced an enemy that could adapt so quickly, think so creatively, or fight so fiercely. The humans weren't just fighting back anymore. They were hunting. In the Dominion's main strategy room aboard their flagship, Supreme Commander Vax stared at battle reports with disbelief. Across his holographic display, red warning symbols flashed over Earth's major combat zones. "Impossible," he muttered, watching footage of human fighters destroying another Dominion cruiser. "They were primitive just 2 months ago. This defies all conquest protocols." His advisors seemed equally confused. In their 1,000-year history of conquest, no species had ever adapted so quickly. No species had ever turned the Dominion's own technology against them. On Earth, humans continued to surprise their invaders. In Australia, resistance fighters had discovered that common dirt, thrown into the air in specific patterns, could confuse Dominion sensor systems. In Canada, hunters used old-fashioned mirror signals to coordinate attacks, completely bypassing the aliens' communications jammers. Admiral Thompson received a surprising report one morning. "Sir," her intelligence officer said, "we're picking up unusual transmissions from other conquered worlds. They're asking about us." The news spread across the galaxy. Stories of human resistance traveled from planet to planet, carried by Dominion soldiers who couldn't stop talking about these strange, unpredictable creatures from Earth. They spoke of humans who fought with both sticks and energy weapons, of primitive beings who had decoded Dominion technology in weeks, of a species that seemed to grow stronger with every defeat. On the slave world of Proxima 3, the insectoid natives watched leaked footage of Earth's battles. They saw humans using simple tools to defeat advanced weapons. They saw Earth's cities fighting back even when partly destroyed. If the humans can fight, their resistance leader clicked to his people, so can we. The rebellion began slowly at first. On one world, factory workers sabotaged Dominion weapons. On another, slave miners refused to work. The Dominion found themselves facing something new: inspiration. Back on Earth, Dr. White's team made another breakthrough. Their entire empire, he explained to Admiral Thompson, is built on copying and repeating. They haven't invented anything new in centuries. They just use the same methods over and over. Thompson understood immediately. That's why they can't handle us. We keep changing, but they stay the same. Proof of this came from the front lines. When humans developed shield-piercing weapons, the Dominion simply made their shields stronger, using more power but the same basic design. When humans attacked from underground, the Dominion kept bombing from above, never thinking to change their strategy. Commander Wilson's pilots had started playing music during battles, broadcasting it on all frequencies. The alien soldiers, used to fighting in strict silence, became confused and disorganized by the unexpected noise. Such a simple tactic, but one the Dominion had never encountered in thousands of years of warfare. Their greatest weakness, Wilson told his pilots, is thinking they know everything. We're teaching them how wrong they are. Reports from conquered worlds grew more frequent. The reptilian people of Centauri 6 had started using Earth-style guerrilla tactics. The aquatic beings of Hydra 4 were adapting human engineering techniques to their underwater cities. In the Dominion's Central Command, panic began to spread. Their perfect system of conquest was breaking down. Supplies weren't reaching their fleets. Slave workers were revolting. And humans kept innovating, kept surprising them, kept winning. Admiral Thompson addressed the United Earth Council with news from the front. The Dominion isn't just losing battles, she explained. They're losing control. Every time they fail to defeat us, another world sees hope. Every time we survive, we show others how to fight back. She displayed a galaxy map showing spreading rebellion. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We've become something the Dominion never expected. An example. As if to prove her point, 3 more worlds declared open rebellion that day. The Dominion's undefeatable empire was beginning to crumble, all because they had chosen to attack a planet of creatures who simply refused to follow the rules. Humanity had become more than just enemies of the Dominion. They had become teachers, showing the galaxy that impossible odds only matter if you play by someone else's rules. The human factor was spreading, and the Dominion couldn't stop it. Admiral Thompson stood before the combined fleet of Earth, her eyes sweeping over the massive view screen. 500 ships, built with a mixture of human innovation and reversed-engineered Dominion technology, waited for her command. Each vessel represented humanity's refusal to submit, their will to fight back. Operation Thunderbolt begins in 10 minutes, she announced over the fleet-wide channel. For 6 months, we've defended our home. Today, we take the fight to theirs. The plan was audacious, perhaps even crazy, But as Commander Wilson often said, crazy is what humans do best. Earth's fleet had gathered in the darkness behind Mars, hidden from Dominion sensors. Their ships weren't as large as the alien vessels, but they carried something more powerful: human creativity mixed with burning determination. First wave, launch. Thompson ordered. 100 small fighters shot forward, led by Commander Wilson. Instead of attacking directly, they scattered, releasing thousands of simple metal fragments into space. The Dominion sensors, designed to detect energy weapons, completely missed this primitive threat. Main fleet, advance. Thompson commanded. Remember your training. Fight like humans, not like them. The Earth fleet surged forward, using the debris field as cover. When the Dominion finally detected them near their fortress world, their response was predictably rigid. They formed their standard defensive pattern, the same one they'd used for centuries. They never learn, Wilson muttered, leading his squadron through the gaps in their formation. Execute pattern echo. Earth ships started broadcasting different radio signals on all frequencies: music, static, random numbers, even old TV shows. The Dominion's communication network, overwhelmed by the unusual input, began to falter. The battle that followed would be studied for generations. Human ships darted between their larger opponents, using maneuvers inspired by Earth's Air Force dogfights. When Dominion vessels tried to form their usual attack squares, they found themselves trapped by their own predictability. "Look at this," Wilson radioed, his voice full of amazement. "They're still following their combat manual, still trying to fight by the rules." Thompson watched from her command ship as the humans' chaotic yet coordinated attack threw the Dominion fleet into confusion. Their rigid hierarchy couldn't adapt to Earth's fluid battle tactics. But the real surprise came from deep space. As the battle raged, new ships appeared, vessels from the worlds that had rebelled against Dominion rule. They had learned from watching Earth, copying human tactics and adding their own twists. "Admiral," her tactical officer called out, "the Centaurians are using our shield-piercing technique, and the Hydrons, they're using our debris field strategy." Thompson allowed herself a small smile. "Send them our recognition codes. Today, we all fight together." The Dominion commanders faced their worst nightmare: not just humans fighting unpredictably, but other species following their example. Their perfectly ordered universe was dissolving into chaos. On the Dominion fortress world below, more surprises waited. Earth's special forces, led by those who had fought in city streets back home, had secretly landed days earlier. They had taught local resistance fighters everything they knew about guerrilla warfare. As the space battle continued above, the fortress world erupted in rebellion. Slaves turned against their masters, using simple tools as weapons, just as humans had shown them. "Status report," Thompson demanded as the battle entered its 6th hour. "Dominion fleet is in disarray," came the response. They're retreating. Multiple ships are abandoning their positions." The news spread quickly across the combined fleet. The undefeatable Dominion was running away. Their mighty warships, faced with enemies who refused to fight properly, were falling back in confusion. Commander Wilson's voice crackled over the command channel. Who would have thought? All it took to beat them was being completely, utterly, unpredictably human. As Thompson watched the Dominion fleet scatter, she thought about humanity's journey. From victims to survivors, from defenders to liberators, they had done what no other species had managed in 1,000 years. They had shown the galaxy that the key to beating an unbeatable enemy was simple: stop playing by their rules and start making your own. The counterattack wasn't just successful, it was revolutionary, and the Dominion's perfect empire would never be the same again. 1 year after Operation Thunderbolt, the Great Hall of the former Dominion capital world fell silent. Supreme Commander Vax, once the leader of an undefeated empire, walked slowly toward the center of the room. His purple uniform, stripped of its medals, hung loosely on his frame. Before him stood Admiral Thompson, Commander Wilson, and representatives from 17 freed worlds. The document on the floating display was simple: complete and unconditional surrender of the Dominion. "Sign it," Thompson said quietly. It wasn't a request. As Vax pressed his hand to the document, ending 1,000 years of Dominion rule, Wilson leaned over to Thompson. "Hard to believe they thought we'd be an easy conquest." The signing ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. On Earth, crowds gathered in rebuilt cities to watch. In the ruins of New York, London, and Tokyo, people cheered as their long nightmare finally ended. But humanity wasn't celebrating alone. On every freed world, former slaves rejoiced. The Centaurians raised their wing arms in triumph. The aquatic hydrants sang victory songs that echoed through their ocean cities. The insectoid workers of Proxima 3 clicked their mandibles in joy. Back in the Great Hall, Admiral Thompson addressed the gathered representatives. "Today marks not just the end of the Dominion, but the beginning of something new. The Galactic Defense Alliance. The alliance, built on Earth's principles of adaptation and cooperation, would ensure no empire could ever threaten free worlds again. Each species would contribute its unique strengths, learning from each other just as they had learned from humans. Our first act," Thompson announced, "will be to establish the warning." In the months that followed, massive monuments were built at the edge of every major space lane. Each one displayed the same message, written in all known languages. "Here marks the boundary of protected space. Within these stars live the humans and their allies. They are not like other species you may have encountered. They do not follow your rules. They do not break under pressure. They grow stronger with every challenge. If you come in peace, they will show you wonders. If you come for war, they will show you defeat." This warning was paid for with the fall of an empire that thought humans would be easy prey. Let their fate guide your choices wisely. On Earth, life began returning to normal, though changed forever. The planet had become a center of galactic culture, where species from across the stars came to learn human adaptability and creativity. In a quiet ceremony at the rebuilt Star Seeker Memorial, Captain James Miller, one of the 3 survivors from that first contact, spoke to a group of alien visitors. "You ask why we won," he said, looking at the monument to his lost crew. "It's simple. The Dominion thought technology meant civilization. They thought their rules were universal. But humanity's strength isn't in our tools or our rules. It's in our spirit." He turned to face the gathered aliens. "We've been fighting ourselves since we first picked up sticks. Every war taught us to adapt. Every challenge made us innovate. We don't follow patterns because our entire history is about breaking them." Commander Wilson, standing nearby, added with a grin, "Besides, anyone who thinks humans will surrender just because you have better weapons clearly hasn't read our history books." As the years passed, the story of Earth's resistance became legend. Young aliens learned how a primitive species had shattered an unbeatable empire. They learned how human unpredictability had changed the galaxy forever. Admiral Thompson, on the day of her retirement, gave one final interview. The reporter asked if she had any message for future generations. "Yes," she said, looking out at the bustling spaceport, where ships from 100 worlds landed peacefully. "Remember that impossible is just a word. The Dominion thought it was impossible to beat them. They thought humans would be just another conquest." She smiled. "Instead, we taught the galaxy its greatest lesson. Never underestimate a species that turns its greatest weaknesses into strengths, its defeats into victories, and its enemies into allies." The reporter noted that some called humans the galaxy's greatest warriors now. Thompson shook her head. "No, we're its greatest survivors, and that's far more dangerous."